Hello and welcome to a mini episode of predictocast, the podcast where we predict the plot of a movie we know nothing about. I'm Josh, and with me as always is Skinner. Hey, Skinner.
Hey, Josh. Hey, all you pies out there. What is that?
Wow.
I should have said pumpkins.
Yeah, maybe pumpkins, but also calling people pies. I don't know how they feel about that. Oh, that's like 50s slang. That's like, hey, you old pie.
Hey, slices.
They kick you out of a restaurant for asking a waitress for a slice of her pumpkin pie.
I would just, you usually have a menu in my hand at that point, and it makes it more
appropriate.
Okay. Appropriate.
Yeah. So that whole intro there is because we are revealing the next film that we're going to cover on the podcast, and it has, you know how we love provocative titles over here, and it has a very provocative one. We're in the midst of the Thanksgiving season. We've put the horrors behind us. We're excited about the turkey and the gathering with friends, and yes, the pumpkin pie. And that's why next week on the show we are covering Pumpkin Pie Wars.
Pumpkin Pie War.
This is not.
Hey.
Let me stop and say this
Sure.
is not a show on Food Network. This is a movie.
This is a movie. It could be both. It could have had a tie-in thing, but it didn't. Hey, if you're watching this, listen to this podcast, and you haven't been around for the last few years, just get ready for from here until the end of the year. You're not going to know what any of the fucking movies we're talking about. That's a solid bet from basically from the end of Halloween until the next year. You're just gonna be in for the smallest niche movies you'll ever come across.
I mean, we've talked about this before because we've covered several sort of Lifetime, Hallmark, Netflixy style holiday films on the podcast. Perhaps the best one about Thanksgiving, Love at the Thanksgiving Day Parade, a movie that we somehow, I think, talked about collectively for about 3.5 hours, which is totally worth listening to. I re-listened to it recently, and it's very funny. We have a good time on that episode. But, these movies get slagged on a lot, these types of films. But they're just fucking fun. Honestly, they're fun to watch, even if they're terrible. I think they ride that wonderful fine line of the people sort of knowing that they're in on the joke, but still somehow delivering something that's terrible, but still fun to watch. It's this beautiful mixture, just like a good pumpkin pie fresh out of the oven. If all the ingredients are just right, it's one of the best things you could ever eat. And I think that's what these movies are.
The consistency is there, the filling of these movies, especially if you do it in there's a certain time frame where they've quote unquote figured it out, where they can make 75 of these a year for a 6-week period of time. And yes, it's formulaic. Yeah, it is aimed at older white people. And yes, it is.
Hey, that's us.
It's us. But they never get as terrible as a terrible movie can get. But they never hit that highs. But you just know what you're getting. It's comfort food. In this case, it's pie. And there's always something stupid in it. There's always some relationship or some character where you're like, what the fuck are they thinking? And that's where whether it has to do with their employment, whether it has to do with one of their friends' employment, whether it has to do with these the meet cute, there's just going to be something in this movie that will be jaw-droppingly stupid, and it will carry you through the whole movie.
You want to know something else that's very jaw-dropping? The director of this Hallmark family film, Stephen R. Monroe, when you go to his IMDb page, he is known for the I Spit on Your Grave remake and I Spit on Your Grave 2.
Stephen rated R. Monroe.
Yeah, definitely. He also just completed production on a movie called First Person Shooter.
Oh, I wonder what that's about.
Man, he's one of those like working directors who has 52 directorial credits, and he has really only been directing consistently since 2005. So he has made in what, 16 years, he's made almost 50 films. Like,
I wonder if he's sitting there and he's telling them stories about the 12 disasters of Christmas, about how, it was called that, but the production was so perfect. And why can't you do as well as they did on the set of Grave Halloween or Christmas in Homestead or The Christmas Connection, Undercover Angel by Day, Devil
Schoolgirl by day, Streetwalker by night.
Someone has to remake that eventually, right?
Oh man, I don't know if you could. I don't think you could remake the Angel films today.
I don't think you can go. Can you go back to the time where every movie poster was framed by a pair of women's legs? Like you were seeing a point of view from between her knees.
Only direct to video American Pie films can do that.
That's like all a certain like. There must be like an entire generation of men like, that's, legs, gotta rent that one.
Speaking of pie, nothing more American than pumpkin pie.
You think anyone in this movie is going to fuck the pumpkin pie?
I mean, looking at the poster, that guy, Eric Aragon, the Dragon Man, might do it.
Competition has never tasted so sweet as this pie.
I mean,
he's going to really stir her bowl.
Okay, let's talk about the cover art for this thing.
Their expressions are what really gets me in this one.
Yes, it is what you would expect from a film of this type, where it is, attractive woman, blandish, moderately attractive guy, together.
Voluminous hair on both.
Yes, for sure. Like very, very full
newscaster hairs.
Oh yes, he definitely has newscaster hair. And it's got them standing in a kitchen with some, looks like pumpkins hanging on the wall behind them. I don't know if that's the way you're supposed to store your pumpkins.
I can't tell if that's pumpkins or orange garlic.
It looks like giant pumpkins hanging on the wall behind them. And I've
looked at like 4 different pictures now, and I cannot figure out if those are pumpkins.
I can't either. Maybe they're leaves or decoration of some kind. There's leaves on the wall in the back.
They're just like orange ball sacks.
It looks like they just grabbed some, like, it's like orange mushrooms or coral or something that they've stapled to the ceiling.
It's just an odd thing because, I mean, clearly everything behind them is white. And they're popping with color.
Oh yes, they've got like the perfect white kitchen that you always want and that never stays clean.
Why would you ever want that?
But yeah, he's holding.
Spill a bit of Chardonnay and it's ruined.
She's holding an iPad or a Kindle of some kind. Probably
that's a Kindle Fire if I've ever seen it.
Probably containing the recipe for said pumpkin pie.
Allrecipes.com. I hope she's already scrolled past the 10 pages of story behind the recipe.
What do you think the story is for that pumpkin pie recipe? Well, my daughter got cancer, and so the town came together and they raised a bunch of money because our healthcare system is so fucking shoddy. And to repay everyone, I made this pumpkin pie, and they loved it.
God, I cannot stand the stories before recipes. And yet it must work for SEO, right?
It has to, because every recipe that you go to, you're like, I just want to learn the right temperature to make sure that my chicken breasts don't completely dry out. Well, let me scroll past this story about how her identity got stolen and how making this chicken so juicy and tender was the only thing that kept her sanity alive.
Made her realize who she was again after her identity was stolen. I love the new edition of it is you have the story and the ads, which causes the scrolling to get weird, where it'll move around on you as ads pop in and out and change shapes and sizes.
It's the worst thing, and it affects almost every website now. And I don't understand how like that's
especially on your
thing.
iPhone. It just you cannot keep the screen still anymore.
No,
or you click on a place that isn't an ad but will be an ad in 5 seconds, and it already decides you've clicked that ad.
Yes.
But besides that, now they have the scrolling stuff, the ads that are moving and shaking, coming in from the sides, the little bottom things that pop up where they'll have a bottom ad, and on top of that bar ad, another ad, which will actually keep you from scrolling because it's considered above your text that you're actually moving. But above the actual recipe where they have the ingredients and then the instructions, they'll have like a Cole's Notes, like flash notes version of it, where they'll mention how to make it, but they'll mention ingredients, but they won't tell you what the actual ingredient list is or how much you're supposed to have it. So it's like, it's a little like, when you're going to make this, you're going to add the milk to the flour, to the pumpkin, to the crust. Make sure you don't bake it too long. Really stir it well. And it's like, wait, is this the actual recipe? Are you actually at some point, like, because it seems like the instructions for the recipe, but it's not, because it doesn't tell you how, like, what order to do things in and how much of everything to put in. It just kind of summarizes it before it tells you the actual recipe. And I'm like, no. What are you doing?
And then there's an ad at the bottom of that says, this pumpkin pie won't last 5 minutes.
Local pies want to meet you. But I mean, I remember watching something on Food Network, like with one of the Food Network stars, that guy Fieri won eventually, which thank God I watched the genesis of that back when I watched TV. Probably why I stopped watching TV. And they had it was really kind of bluntly stated, like they kind of gussy these shows up, but they had like the actual, like, the hosts were the actual, like, producers of shows and network executives, and they would just say stuff about what they wanted out of someone. And as a person watching the show, you're like, no, I don't fucking want that. I don't care how good they are at meeting other executives or doing recipes at conventions and stuff to get advertisers. And they're like, oh, the recipes don't matter. It's the stories you tell what you're doing. Like, no, I don't care about their stories. It's all bullshit. They're given a recipe before they show up on stage. They don't actually have a connection to it. Like, and I'm like, you're making this too real, in that I hate every single person who's on the board picking the winner. And what's funny was, if you watch that season, they don't want to pick Guy. There's somebody else they think is better with the press, and they want to give him the job instead.
How could you look at Guy Fieri and not think he's the best guy?
They literally thought he's the best guy. They literally thought he wouldn't sell to mainstream America.
Yeah, well, they were
and
wrong.
That he was too loud to sell to, like, advertisers when he has to go to on press kits.
He's so appealing. He's so appealing to mainstream America, and also actually does some good too. Like, he's not just like, yeah, he's so everywhere now. The idea that they thought he had no mainstream appeal, and this guy that no one remembers what was their favorite for the entire show is so ridiculous. That guy's got to feel real bad.
He almost topped America's favorite monster, but it's like, not the, but like that filtered into actual recipes on websites in a macro form, and I'm like, I just need to buy recipe books again. Like, the idea was, like, recipe books were, like, dead because you can just look up any recipe online. Now they're almost too annoying to use as a quick reference. And this movie will be great.
This movie will be great. I mean, we've gotten your feelings about recipes laid out for all to hear.
Well, people really have cared, and they've been wondering for like 4 years what Skinner thinks of online recipes.
I know. It's been a thing that we've been getting lots of fan mail about. When is Skinner going to talk about his feelings on the current state of recipes on the internet? Um, but like
I bake a lot of bread. I don't have a very interesting life.
So this, getting back to this poster, we don't know what's going on in the background. Maybe those are like weird mushrooms or some sort of growth that they need to deal with. Maybe there's some sort of weird fungus that's taking over the town while they're so focused on
maybe
they're
they're baking the tumors out of people.
Maybe this is like that Larry Cohen movie, The Stuff, where they just found these fucking orange globes in the ground and they started marketing them to people, and everyone's turning into ghouls.
Pumpkins in our pumpkin pie. People can't get enough of it.
But she's standing there with her little recipe guide, scrolling feverishly, trying to find the recipe at the bottom of the page. And he is standing next to her. He's got his little zip-up sweater on. Epitome of preppiness. They're both wearing variations of orange and brown, very fall colors, of course. And he's whisking something in a one of those copper bowls. I bet he bought a whole set just to get some fucking Moscow Mule glasses, and he's so happy he has that bowl now.
I know. I wonder if there's anything in there, because God forbid he gets any drips on that sweater.
But the big thing, though, is that these people seem pretty happy. They seem happy to be standing there. I mean, he's got his fake smile on. She's sort of like, she's got a very sure Jan expression going now.
Yeah, she's got her, like, he's very sincerely happy, staring straight into our souls. She's got her eyebrows raised a bit. It's kind of a smirk, but not all the way.
It's an interesting look for her, though, because I'm looking around on Google looking for this movie, and all the pictures, even ones from the film, she's kind of got the same smirk on her face. There's only one that actually shows her teeth, so I don't know if she's not a big full mouth smiler. She prefers the quirky smirk, but that'll be something to look out for. But the big thing, though, is the title of this movie is Pumpkin Pie Wars, but they seem pretty happy together. So are they fighting in this movie, or are they a team fighting someone else?
It's like, do they run something together and they're combining their efforts to beat someone else we don't see?
Oh, maybe
at a pumpkin pie war.
What if they might be forced together against their will, and they learn to work together and then love each other?
Maybe she's trying to maybe one of them runs a small town bakery, and the other one runs like a multinational food pumpkin pie company.
Oh, maybe she's a food blogger. That's what she's doing. She's typing in her report on that Amazon Fire.
She's on her Amazon Fire, just writing pumpkin pie bad.
Pumpkin pie equals bad ?
Equals bad ? And then like he makes some lewd jokes about her pie in.
Just like those ones you would make to the waitress that would get you kicked out of the restaurant.
I mean, somebody's mom or grandmother or aunt has to own a cafe in this thing.
Yes,
or diner.
For sure. Like there's definitely somebody has like a restaurant that is famous for their pumpkin. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe there is like one of them has a famous family pumpkin pie that the other thinks is good enough to win the pumpkin pie contest, and they have to convince that person to give their recipe, like do their recipe, but they're afraid because it was their grandmother's recipe and they want to keep it a secret, and they're afraid if they put it out there, then like the prize is that you win like a food deal with some major company, which means he would have to like give away the recipe or something like that. He or she don't want to do that. And so there's like a little bit of a conflict there between them. And I'm overthinking it very, very much.
You are, but here, like when we're talking about a pumpkin pie war, like what are the stakes in this movie? Or like, what are we talking about as far as like, what is at stake in their war? Because it can't be that high. It's a pumpkin pie war.
Global annihilation, my friend.
Global annihilation. I mean, if it is corporate, food concerns versus local sourced pumpkins or whatever these orange things are behind them, these ball sacks.
I found a closer picture of them, and I still cannot tell what that is. It just looks like garbage bags.
It looks like little orange bags with something in them.
Yeah.
Like if it was white, it would be garlic, but it's not, and it looks like it has a texture.
They look like little pumpkin bulbs.
It doesn't make any sense. That's not how pumpkins grow. But yeah, like how does this lead them to fall in love? Is there an other boyfriend or other girlfriend involved that they have to shed on this way during the war? Like who's a victim of the war?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I feel like there's got to be.
Did a pie kill someone in their family in the past?
Someone's allergic to pumpkin.
Is anyone allergic to pumpkin? Is that a thing?
I mean, I guess they could be. People are allergic to lots of things. They could be allergic to pumpkin of some kind. Maybe there's something about it, like
something in the pie crust, gluten, maybe.
Maybe. So, like pumpkin pie wars. Is there? So we joked about it being like a Food Network show. Are they going on a Food Network type show where they have to like compete with other people?
Time limits are so like. That's the thing, though. In a pumpkin pie war, if it's specifically called that, they'd have to make a pumpkin pie every episode, which kind of would get kind of.
I mean, it's
like in this week, make a pumpkin pie.
It's a 6 week.
And next week on the show, another pumpkin pie
that just runs during the Thanksgiving, like the fall into Thanksgiving holiday.
Do you think at some point during this show they stop and just literally give us the recipe for the pumpkin pie?
Ooh, I hope so. I hope that they like lay it out in such a way, kind of like a follow along at home kind of thing.
Yes, like,
but not making it obvious.
Pull out your Amazon Kindle Fire. With ads, $79.99 for Black Friday.
So I do want to say that one thing that we sometimes do on these mini episodes is we try to figure out what's going on with using Amazon keywords, and this by far, with the exception of the film that had no keywords at all, has the lowest number of keywords with 2.
The 2, but they're so accurate.
They are. Pumpkin pie and contest. Like, basically, this is the title of the movie. That's what the keywords are. I wish that one of the keywords had been war.
If it just had been pumpkin pie and war, would have been so amazing that I'm upset that no one did it. Like, delete contest and put in war.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that it must be kind of like maybe it is sort of like a cooking reality show thing. Maybe it's almost like maybe it's like Nailed It, and she's there or he's there because they made a very bad pumpkin pie and they posted it on the internet, and the show found them and they were like, come redeem yourself.
So instead of that, as we close this out, before we reveal something with the episode, I want to say I'm going to instead go to the more like this, because we had some trouble finding Thanksgiving movies to cover.
Yeah, we did. It was tough. We wanted to do something seasonally appropriate, and of course we are going to do that next month as well, because who fucking cares? No one's listening. But yeah, Thanksgiving movies, I feel like there should be more of them. It's weird. We like Christmas. The Hallmark Christmas movies this year started in like the 3rd week of October. So where are the Hallmark Thanksgiving movies?
So at some point they had a fall harvest season on Hallmark. I think this is like 2016 and 2017. It doesn't exist anymore as far as I can tell, or I just haven't had the patience to look. But on the more like this part of the IMDb on this, they do have some of the other movies that have been in this block of programming.
Ooh,
and
interesting.
I'm going to. There's a couple, but there's one in particular I want to bring up. But I have to lead to it. It's called start. Moving along in the joke. You have to like build it up before you really hit it out of the park with the end. But first, when we have Falling for Vermont. I mean, it's always fall in Vermont, so that's a good movie.
Does that also star the same woman?
It might. They all look the same though.
Yes, it does. It stars Julie Gonzalo, who is the lead of Pumpkin Pie Wars.
I mean, once you're doing well, you're doing well. Next we have Harvest Love, which is starring the same sweater as she wears in this movie. We have Autumn in the Vineyard, which the guy in it doesn't look like a TV star. He just looks like somebody who you see at the grocery store. He looks like a 3rd string football player. He does.
Is that Rachel Lee Cook in that movie?
Let's pull this one up. Is it Rachel Lee? It is Rachel Lee Cook.
Wow.
That's not fair to Rachel Lee Cook.
No, it isn't.
In this movie. And next we have Love on a Limb, which anything that comes too close to Love on a Leash is going to be a bad movie.
Also, Love on a Limb, though, that's a very dangerous situation you found yourself in.
It is.
The love of my life is hanging from a tree.
It's about a bake sale for the fire department. Good for them.
That doesn't work at like, call it like Flaming Love or something.
And then the one that I just don't understand. I don't understand this title.
Think I know which one.
Love, Fall, and Order.
What? What is that?
What is it a play on?
What? Yeah, what is that a pun on?
Like, Love and Fall doesn't sound like law. I mean, some of the letters are there. Love.
It should have been called Lull and Order.
What does that mean?
In order.
Lull and Order.
Love, Fall, and Order. What?
When Claire goes home to save her dad's annual fall fest on her family's pumpkin farm,
we should have done
sparks
this movie.
fly with an old rival, the opposing lawyer she now faces in court.
What?
I mean, that's not no pumpkin pie war we're talking about there, but like, there's a dog on this cover, so it has to be okay. But that name doesn't make any sense.
No. What? Love, Fall, and Order. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck that's a play on.
It doesn't. I just can't figure it out. I believe
this one has 29 keywords.
The actor who stars in this, his name is Trevor Donovan. He's got a jaw that you could set your watch to. Not only did he star in this, he also starred in Love, Lost, and Found, which is a name has nothing to do with this movie whatsoever. But that name makes sense. That's a play on thing.
Yeah. No, this Love, Fall, and Order. What could that be a play? Like,
I want you. If you are listening and you aren't, and if you also know what that's a reference to, please at us at Twitter at predictocast. I don't know what that means.
It has to be a play on Law and Order, but it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, but it would have to pass so many people to get to the poster, to the name. Love, Fall, and Order. Like, nothing about that makes sense.
No, absolutely nothing. But yeah, I think we could probably wrap up this mini episode with Pumpkin Pie Wars. We think that there's going to be a competition of some kind. I think we can assume that so much. Maybe they're battling each other and they come together, and then they come together. Maybe there's a secret pumpkin pie recipe somehow involved. Maybe there's a commentary about recipe length on the internet. Although maybe not, because this was 2016. So
right
when things were better.
What a great year that was turning out to be. Just around fall too, things got really good. And
this came out about a month before that, so things were things were going great right before.
Oh man, imagine a pumpkin pie war right now, where everyone gathers together.
Hey, did you ever think about how our last commander-in-chief kind of looked orange like a pumpkin?
What a great. It's so funny. Both sides are
That's good jokes on both sides.
Everyone can enjoy that. He's a Cheeto. Anyways, it's really about both sides making sure that we protect things and just not focusing in on one person, right? Jon Stewart, go fuck yourself. Anyways, I'm not sure. Maybe we need to bring an expert on this one.
Ooh, yeah. You know what? I think that you are absolutely right. We do need to bring in someone who can help us get through this, can enjoy this pumpkin pie contest, this pumpkin pie war with us, and help us come out to be the victors. We need to emerge as the winners of this pumpkin pie war. And that's why next week on the show, we're going to be joined by a very special guest, Sammy C. From the podcast Excessively Diverted. She's been on the show before. She talked about one of the Stalked by My Doctor films with us. Stalked. And she is going to be back to talk all about Pumpkin Pie Wars with us. But until next week, when we are digging into some pumpkin pie, I've been Josh.
I've been Skinner.
And we predict you'll join us. If you like the show, subscribe, rate, and review us over at Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter and Instagram at predictocast, and you can find our entire back catalog at predictocast.com. Our theme music is by Kyle Sledge. Find more of his work at soundcloud.com/geistmusic. As always, thanks for listening.